Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to today's press conference of the State Council Information Office. Today we'll brief you on the Q1 performance of Chinese economy. We have invited the Deputy Commissioner of the National Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Sheng Laiyun, who will brief you on the Q1 performance of Chinese economy and answer your questions. Next, I'll give the floor to Mr. Sheng for his briefing. Ladies and gentlemen, media, friends, good morning. It's a pleasure to brief you on the performance and major data of Chinese economy. As usual, I will first brief you on the major indicators and statistics of the Chinese economy and answer your questions. In Q1, national economy was off to a good start in the first quarter under the strong leadership of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core. All regions and departments strictly implemented the decisions and arrangements made by the CPC Central Committee and the State Council, adhered to the general principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability, fully and faithfully applied the new development philosophy on all fronts, accelerated the efforts to create a new pattern of development, took solid steps to promote high-quality development, and made efforts to improve coordination on a full range of macro policies. As a result, the effects of policies continued to unfold. Production and supply grew fast. Cultivation of new quality productive forces were accelerated. Domestic demands were increasing. Unemployment was generally stable. The national economy was off to a good start, and the high-quality development was advancing with new and positive momentum. According to preliminary estimates, Q1 GDP reached 31,875.8 billion yuan, up by 5.4% year-on-year at constant prices, or up by 1.2% over that in the Q4 of 2024. By industry, the value added of primary industry was 1,171.3 billion yuan, up by 3.5% year-on-year. That of the secondary industry was 11,190.3 billion yuan, up by 5.9%, and that of the tertiary industry was 19,514.2 billion yuan, up by 5.3%. In Q1, the value added of agriculture registered a year-on-year increase of 4%. The winter wheat maintained a stable sown area with a moderate increase and exhibited favorable growth in general. The spring farming and sowing was carried out in an orderly manner. According to National Planting Intention Survey, the intended sown area for rice and corn instead increased. In Q1, the output of pork, beef, mutton, poultry was 25.4%. 4 million tons, up by 2% year-on-year. Of this total, in Q1, growth of industrial production accelerated, and equipment manufacturing and high-tech manufacturing registered faster growth, grew by 6.5% year-on-year in Q1, 0.7 percentage points faster than 2024. The value added of mining increased by 6.2% year-on-year, and manufacturing increased by 7.1% year-on-year. Production of supplying electricity, heat, power gas, and water increased by 1.9%. Analysis by types of ownership show that value added of state-holding enterprises was up by 4.2% year-on-year. Shareholding enterprises was up by 7.2%. Investors from Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan was up by 4%, and private enterprises up by 7.3%. Value added in March of industrial enterprises above designated size up by 7.7% year-on-year, 1.8 percentage points faster than the first 2 months, or up by 0.44% month-on-month. And the total profits made by industrial enterprises above designated size were 911 billion yuan, down by 0.3% year-on-year. A decline narrowed by 3 percentage points compared with that of 2024. Service sector grew fast, and modern services enjoyed sound growth. Specifically, the value-added information transmission, software, information technology services, leasing and business services, transport, storage and postal services, wholesale and retail, accommodation and catering grew by 10.3, 10.2, 7.2, 5.8, and 5.1% respectively. The index services production increased by 6.3% year-on-year, 0.7 percentage points faster than that in the first 2 months. Fourth, growth of market sales picked up and sales of trading goods grew fast. In Q1, the total retail sales of consumer goods reached 12,467.1 billion yuan, or up by 4.6% year-on-year, 1.1 percentage points faster than that of 2024. Analyzed by different areas, the retail sales of consumer goods in urban areas reached 10,805.7 billion yuan, by 4.5% year-on-year, and that in rural areas stood at 1,661.4 billion yuan. The income of catering was 1,402.7 billion yuan, or up by 4.7%. Or consumer goods was up by 5.7%. In March, the total resales of consumer goods grew by 1.9 percentage points faster than that in the first 2 months, or up by 0.58% month-on-month. Investment in fixed assets remained stable with a moderate increase, and investment in high-tech industries grew fast. In Q1, the investment in fixed assets reached 10,317.4 billion yuan, up by 4.2% year-on-year and 1 percentage point faster than that of previous year. The investment in fixed assets was up by 8.3%, with the investment in real estate development deducted. Specifically, investment in infrastructure grew by 5.8% year-on-year, manufacturing up by 9.1%, and real estate development declined by 9.9%. The floor space of newly built commercial buildings sold was 218.69 million square meters, down by 3% year-on-year. A decline narrowed by 2.1 percentage points compared to that of the first 2 months. The total sales of newly built commercial buildings were 2,079.8 billion yuan, down by 2.1%. By industry, the investment in primary, secondary, and tertiary industry was up by 11.9% and 0.1% year-on-year. The investment in high-tech industries grew by 6.5% year-on-year. 6, imports and exports of goods maintained growth and trade structure continued to optimize. 7, consumer price was generally stable and producer prices for industrial products dropped, which have been released, and I will not further elaborate on that. 8, employment was generally stable and urban surveyed unemployment rate maintained stable with a slight decline. In Q1, the urban surveyed unemployment rate averaged 5.3%. In March, the surveyed unemployment rate in urban areas was 5.2%, 0.2 percentage points lower than that of the previous month. The surveyed unemployment rate of the population with local household registration was 5.3%, and that of population with non-local household registration was 4.9%, of which the rate of population with non-local agricultural household registration stood at 5%. The urban surveyed unemployment rate in 31 major cities was 5.2%. By the end of first quarter, the number of rural migrant workers totaled 187.95 million, up by 1.1% year-on-year. Residents' income increased steadily, and income of rural residents grew faster than that of urban residents. In Q1, the national per capita disposable income of residents was 12,179 yuan, a nominal growth of 5.5% year-on-year. In terms of permanent residents, the per capita disposable income of urban households was 15,887 yuan, a nominal growth of 4.9% year-on-year and a real growth of 5%. The per capita disposable income of rural households was 7,003 yuan, a nominal growth of 6.2% year-on-year and a real growth of 6.5%. In terms of income source, the nationwide per capita salary income, net business income, net property income, and net income from transfers grew by 5.9, 5.7, 2.7, and 5.5% in nominal terms, respectively. The median of the nationwide per capita disposable income residents was 9,939 yuan, with a nominal growth of 5.5% year-on-year. Generally speaking, with the sustained efforts of macro policies, our economy got off to a good start and steadily maintained a recovery momentum, with innovation playing an increasingly leading role in the cultivation and new development of drivers accelerated. But we should remain that the external environment is complex. The driver of effective domestic demand is insufficient, and the growth is yet to be consolidated. Going forward, we must follow the guidance of Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, strictly implement the decisions and arrangements by the Central Committee and State Council, adhere to the general principle of pursuing progress while ensuring stability, fully and faithfully apply the new development philosophy on all fronts, accelerate the creation of a new pattern development, and take solid steps to promote high-quality development. Implement more proactive, effective macro policies, expand and strengthen the domestic economy, fully stimulate the vitality of market entities of all types, and actively respond to the uncertainties of the external environment so as to promote steady economic progress while ensuring sound and sustained growth. So much for the briefing. Next, the floor is open for questions. Please identify your media outlets before making questions. We noted the released data. Overall, there were fairly good performance in Q1. How do you rate the overall performance, and what are the main reasons? Thank you. Thank you for your question. Since the beginning of this year, the international landscape is fraught with turbulence and transformation. The pain of structural adjustments were being released and posing challenges to domestic enterprises. Despite the complex situation, the visionary and scientific decision-making of the Central Committee have enabled all departments and regions to earnestly and faithfully implement the arrangements and plans of the Central Economic Work Conference and the 2 sessions. We put efforts with enterprising spirit to make proactive and effective macro policies, effectively responded to risks and challenges. As a result, we have a good and stable start of our economy, with new progress for high-quality development. Here are the main features. The first is improvement within stable growth. As I said, Q1 GDP posted 5.4%, which was higher than the GDP growth of last year and the Q1 last year. Globally, within the major economies, we were leading in terms of our GDP growth. So from the growth, we continued our sustained momentum of rebound and improvement. From production, Q1 showed increased momentum. The value added of all industries was up by 6.3 and 5.3% in the service sector, up by 0.6 and 0.3 percentage points year-on-year. From demand, the total investment in consumer goods, consumer retail, and fixed assets was 4.6 and 4.2% respectively, up 1.1 and 1 percentage points than the total annual rate last year. Second, there was stable growth in employment and income. The surveyed unemployment rate posted 5.3%, and that in March was 5.2%. down by 0.2 percentage points than the first 2 months of this year. Deducting price factors was 5.6%, which was in alignment with our GDP growth. The third point is the new drivers of growth was strengthened. Our balance of payments remained good. In Q1, the global economy was facing sluggish recovery, but China's exports and imports maintained the overall stability. Total trade volume was up by 1.3%, export up by 6.9%. Our trade in services was up by 9.9%, and our foreign exchange reserve stood at $3.2 trillion, which was a hard-earned achievement. We know that since the increased trade restrictions, our trade volume increase of 6.9% show that our resilience in our foreign trade. The fourth point is our new and good progress in terms of high-quality development. While achieving appropriately increased output, we have been cultivating new quality productive forces and remain the overall trend of high-quality development. There were breakthroughs among many sci-tech innovations, and the value added of high-tech manufacturing industries grew by 9.7%. In terms of green development, clean energy, the portion of non-fossil energy consumption was up by 1.5%. And we have been boosting our efforts in terms of livelihood improvement and well-being. So our high-quality development is going towards new and good progress. Market dynamism and confidence was boosted. Since the beginning of this year, we have scaled up and intensified new measures coupled with existing adopted macro policies. We have expanded demand, production, and boosted dynamism and confidence. In March, the manufacturing PMI was up by 50.5%, up by 0.3 percentage points, and showed a 2 months consecutive rebound. The roles of manufacturing activities index was strengthened. The People's Bank of China released credit showing an increase of 7.3%. So these production factors are strengthening their role and boosting market vitality, contributing to rebound and growth of our economy. A good start and high-quality development of Q1 showed once again the great resilience and potential of the Chinese economy. The good performance in Q1 was attributed to the visionary, decisive, and scientific decision-making of the CPC Central Committee with Comrade Xi Jinping at its core, and also attributed to the whole-lot dedication of the Chinese people. We know that last September, the CPC Central Committee Political Bureau adopted a series of macro policies and providing a crucial role for stabilizing the economy. These policies continue to play their role. And in the Central Economic World Conference, a series of macro policies were also adopted, and we made proactive steps. So with all these measures, both new and adopted, have promoted a good start of our economic performance in Q1. All regions and departments earnestly and faithfully implemented the decisions and plans of the Central Committee, front-load their efforts in terms of disparities, opportunities, in their efforts to have effectively boosted the rebound of production and demand. In particular, we spare great efforts on the deepened integration between sci-tech and industrial innovation. So new drivers of economic growth have been increasing. All these efforts, factors have contributed to a good rebound and start of the economy. At the same time, we are clear that the external environment is complex and severe. The global protectionism is on the rise. The global economic order was battered. In China, industrial restructuring, transformative and upgrading is at a crucial point. And a good economy entails more and greater efforts, and our unity around the CPC Central Committee with greater confidence and consensus. We will manage our own affairs well and respond to the uncertainties in the external landscape with our certainty of a high-quality development and ensure the stable growth and sustained improvement of our Chinese economy. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. We firmly oppose trade barriers and trade bullying because this serves no one's interest. It is in violation of the laws of economics, in violation of the WTO rules, and it also undermines the global economy. It is a drag on global economic recovery. We support the series of countermeasures rolled out by the Chinese government because this is imperative for China to defend its legitimate rights and interest and to defend the multilateral trading system and international trade rules. In the short term, this tariff will pose certain pressure on China's economy and trade, but it does not change the overriding trend of China's economic growth because we have strong fundamentals, big potential, and robust resilience. We are in the position to properly handle external challenges and achieve our growth target. Firstly, there is a strong foundation for the Chinese economy and strong underpinning for our domestic demand. After 4 decades of reform and opening up, China is now the second largest economy. For 15 years in a row, China remains the biggest manufacturer in the world. There is a complete industrial system with strong supporting capacities in China. So this is the strong fundamentals and foundation for China's economic growth. As you know, China has a population of 1.4 billion. There is a massive domestic market. We have per capita GDP of over 13,000 RMB. We are on the cusp of upgrading our consumption. There is big potential for our consumption and for our investment. There is big room for improvement. This also underpins China's sustained growth. And second of all, China's market is diversified, and we have a resilient exports thanks to our supporting industrial capacities. Chinese goods are relatively competitive in the global market. Many of our products are very popular among global consumers. Over the years, we have been expanding global markets, trying to diversify our trade. There has been very positive results. We are the major trading partner with over 150 countries and regions in the world. We are also advancing Belt and Road cooperation. In Q1 this year, our trade with Belt and Road partner countries increased by 7.2%. And our trade with these countries account for over half of China's total trade. So there's a new structure in China's trade. That means we are less dependent on a single market. For instance, the United States back in 2018, our trade with the U.S. accounted for 19.2% in China's total trade, and last year the number declined to 14%. So this is the reason why China's export remains resilient. I just told you the numbers of China's trade in Q1. Despite growing external challenges, China's export increased by 6.9%. And third of all, transformation has seen positive results. There is strong momentum of growth. Since the 18th CPC National Congress, we have been advancing high-quality development and transitioning China's growth model. In the past, China's growth relied primarily on export and investment, but now we are driving China's growth through innovation and consumption. We are working to foster a new growth pattern. Over the past 5 years, domestic demand has on average contributed to 80% of China's growth, and the contribution of new industries, new business models, and new business forms contributed to over 18% of China's growth. And in digital core industries also contributed to around 10% to China's GDP growth. That means China's economy is more stable and is more balanced. Fourth, we have sufficient experience to handle challenges, and we have policy safeguards. The Chinese economy has weathered storms. Over the years, we have been through the Asian financial crisis, the global financial crisis, the trade friction with the U.S., and we have also overcome challenges posed by COVID, but we have emerged even stronger. We have accumulated sufficient experience on macro policy adjustment. The Central Economic Work Conference has predicted the possible challenges we might face this year, and we have decided to adopt more proactive fiscal policy and appropriately accommodative monetary policy. And we also need more proactive macro policies. If we look at Q1 numbers, these policies are quite effective. They have contributed to stabilizing our economic performance in Q1. And we have repeatedly said that we will, in light of the changing external dynamics, roll out new policies because we have sufficient policy tools to manage the situation. So there is policy safeguards for us to weather the difficulties, to navigate the difficulties. Fifthly, we have a good system and we have the confidence because we have the leadership of General Secretary Xi Jinping. We have the strong leadership of the CPC Central Committee, and we have the ability to focus resources on getting things done. We have entrepreneurs with pioneering spirits, a hard-working population. All these are the reasons why we are confident that we will be able to overcome the challenges. There is every reason for us to be confident about China's growth prospects. Thank you. Next question, please. We have noticed that the Central Committee has rolled out a number of macro policies, for instance, on equipment renewal and trade-in of consumer goods, as well as policies on the property market. So what is our comment on those policies? If we look at the numbers, the statistics we just released, we can see the positive impact of our macro policies. I've said repeatedly that thanks to the set of macro policies released in Q4 last year, those policies have enabled us to reverse the downward trend of the growth and helped stabilize the economy. And this year, we will adopt more proactive fiscal policy and macro policies. Many of those policies will be even more robust. For instance, the equipment renewal and trade-in of consumer goods that you just mentioned, more goods are encompassed in these policies, so they are expanding in scope. Different local governments are working diligently to implement the decisions of the CPC Central Committee. They have rolled out more specific policies to implement the instructions of the Central Committee in light of their local conditions. So the existing and new policy measures will be combined to boost consumption and help industrial growth. And these policies are showing positive effects in a sustained way. And firstly, they have boosted recovery in consumption. Retail sales Q1 increased by 4.6%. That is 1.1 percentage points faster than the same period last year, by 1.1 percentage points faster than last year. The trade-in of consumer goods have more notable impacts. E-bikes, phones, tablet computers, and smart watches have been included in this trade-in program. Let me share with you a number of statistics. Communications equipment sales increased by 26.9%. Sales of cultural and office supplies, 21.7%. Sales of household appliances and audiovisual equipment 19.3%, and furniture, 18.1%. And these four categories contributed to 1.4 percentage points of growth in total retail sales. MOFCOM statistics indicate that by April the 8th, consumers purchased 35.7 million items of household appliances across 12 categories through this trade-in programs. And 2.085 million applications have been made to trade in old automobiles for new ones. Second, relevant policy measures have boosted investment thanks to new special bonds issued by local governments. They have contributed to recovery in infrastructure investment. Paid-in capital of fixed investment increased by 3.7%. If we look at the same period last year, that was down by 2.3%. Investment in infrastructure increased by 5.8%. Thanks to the macro policies in Q1, investment in equipment and in purchasing equipment and facilities increased by 19%, 3.3 percentage points faster than last year. And third of all, policy measures have contributed to industrial production, since they have contributed to equipment renewal and more investment in fixed capital. That will be good for industrial production. We have seen good news in Q1. For instance, in agricultural produce processing facilities and packaging equipment saw double-digit growth. Production of new energy vehicles increased by 45.4%. That contributed to 26.3% growth in power stations. And fourthly, policy measures have helped activate the market because it contributed to better circulation of the economy. Express deliveries and shipment of goods have both picked up. We have rolled out new measures this year to stabilize the property market and the stock market. They have been quite effective. And the market has therefore become more vibrant. Fifthly, policy measures have contributed to better market confidence. These set of policy measures have bettered market expectations. I just talked about PMI, manufacturing PMI, that was 50.5% in March. Service sector business activity index stood at 50.3%, also in the expansionary territory. So from those 5 points, we can see that the macro policy measures have been very effective thanks to the policies rolled out by the Political Bureau in September last year. We have successfully stabilized the economy and recovered the economy. Going forward, we will implement these policies even better in order to ensure sustained and healthy growth. From SCMP, could you please share with us how consumption fared in Q1? What will the Chinese government do to uplift domestic demand? Consumption is not just a matter of economic growth, it is a matter of people's livelihood. So the CPC Central Committee and the State Council set great store by expanding demand. The Central Economic Work Conference and the Government Work Report this year both stress the importance of boosting demand and expanding domestic demand in an all-round manner. This is the top priority of our work this year. As you know, on the 16th of March, the Central Committee and the State Council jointly issued a special action plan for boosting consumption, which provides policy support for expanding China's consumption. And these policies have seen positive outcomes. First of all, market sales have recovered. I talked about the total retail sales, Q1, that was 12.5 trillion yuan, increasing by 4.6%. That's 1.1 percentage points faster than the yearly average last year. And in March, the number was 5.9%. That was 1.9 percentage points faster than the number in January and February. And second of all, sales of goods increase relatively fast. I talked about equipment renewal and trading of consumer goods. And thanks to those policies, several consumer goods have maintained double-digit growth in their sales. And third of all, service consumption is still burgeoning. In Q1, thanks to policy support in the service sector, sales in the service sector increased by 5% in Q1, 0.4 percentage points faster than the sales of goods. Consumption of upgraded goods has been faster. Per capita expenditure in transportation, communications, education, and entertainment increased by 10.4% and 13.9% respectively. In the first quarter, we have the Spring Festival. Therefore, that holiday period saw relatively fast growth in people's transportation and in their consumption. Per capita consumption in the service sector increased by 5.4%. That accounts for 43.4% of our total consumption, 0.1 percentage points faster than last year. We are seeing a broad room in the expansion of consumption and services. Fourth, new growth drivers, consumption of new growth drivers are also making progress. We have seen artificial intelligence, live streaming sales, night economies, digital consumption, AI goods. There are also consumption in culture-related goods. In all these specific markets, we are seeing rapid growth of consumption. In particular, the movie Ne Zha has seen 15 billion RMB yuan in its box office. There are new scenarios of consumption. There are new products to be consumed that demonstrates new growth drivers in China's consumption, and it also demonstrates that there is a bright prospect in China's consumption in many new sectors. So in Q1, thanks to policy support, consumption is being upgraded. We know that consumption is dependent on people's income. We must act in line with the CPC Central Committee and the State Council, deliver on the Special Action Plan on boosting consumption, increase people's income, reduce their burden in order to increase their consumption capacity. We will also unleash the potential of consumption, improve the environment of consumption, increase people's MPC, and help the sustained growth of China's economy. 21st century economy paper.
We noted the drop of the CPI in March. What were the reasons? And how do you rate the price trend? The two sessions targeted the CPI domestic at around 2%. How do you predict the next movement, and what is the yearly target? Thank you for your question. I know that all people are concerned about the prices movements, which not just hinges on the inflation of the macroeconomy, but also on the activities of people's activities. About the price movement, I have 3 points to share. The first, I would like to provide my analysis about the downward movement of CPI in March. It was mainly because of a slight drop of seasonal fluctuations and international factors. The CPI in March was 0.1% drop. And in Q1, that was also 0.1%. The figure in March dropped by 0.4 percentage points than the first 2 months, and decreasing month on month. First, it was because the seasonal pullback of agricultural products, and also the winter that we just passed was a warm one, coupled with global warming. We had a surge in fresh food, so the food prices were pulling back. So in March, the food prices was down by 1.4% month on month, driving 0.24 percentage points of the month on month CPC decrease, accounting for 60% of the overall decrease of CPI, which was brought by the seasonal pullback of food prices. And also, after the Spring Festival, there were less travels. So travel-related expenditures, including flight tickets, were on a seasonal decline. In March, flight tickets were down by 11.5% month on month, and travel prices down by 5% month on month. These two figures contributed to 0.13 percentage points of the month-on-month CPI drop. Third, we should also consider the drop in the international crude oil market prices, which triggered the adjusted decline of the domestic gasoline and other consumption prices. In March, the domestic gasoline was down by 3.5% month-on-month, contributing to 0.12 percentage points of month-on-month CPI drop. And all these factors contributed to month-on-month and year-on-year pullback of the CPI. My second point we should view the price movement at low levels comprehensively and objectively. Over the past 2 years, no matter CPI or PPI, they were operating at low levels. The reasons behind these figures, including the domestic complex changes in the domestic macro policies and the trend-driven prices decline triggered by the transitioning of the Chinese economy, and also a crucial stage of transition of economic growth from old to new ones. The traditional drivers were on the decline. So we adjusted prices to reshuffle the market, and also new drivers are on the rise. New drivers are in dire demand, but overall, new drivers induced growth can counterbalance the pullback of the decrease of old drivers. So overall, that was the situation of the low levels of CPI prices. For example, the in-depth adjustments in the property market have made some impact and have the spillovers in the decline in prices in construction materials and steels, among other sectors. From 2016 to 2019, ferrous metal smelting and rolling process industry with steel, as an example, was up by 9% on average. But in 2020 to 2024, these prices was up by only 0.9%. So the adjustments in the relative industries will introduce subsequent impact on the prices. So we should view the price, low-level prices from a holistic perspective. The fluctuations in the Chinese prices is characterized by phased and structural features. Third, we should take a host of policies in tandem to boost the prices. When the prices are high, the living cost will be increased. But if the prices were too low, that will exert pressure on the revenues of the enterprises, and which will in turn affect our living costs. So we should keep the prices at an appropriate range. At the two sessions and the Central Economic Work Conference, China stressed the importance of maintaining the prices at an appropriate range. And relevant departments introduced positive policies to make possible the rebound of prices, all the while of striking a balance of domestic demand and the relations of that with the deepened supply-side structural reform. Also, we will work on regulation of market order, prevent overdue involution of competition. And all these measures will contribute to the pullback of the prices. Judging from Q1, especially the figure in March, I believe that these policies are being leveraged with good effect. For example, the CPI in March was minus 0.1, but that in March was 0.7. The decrease shrinked by 0.6 percentage points. And also deducting energy and food, the core CPI was up by 0.5% in March, and that was down by 0.1% in February. And that means the economy is warming up, and the policies are taking effect. Of course, it may take some time. In particular, the adjustments to the prices, there are multiple factors in the equation. The first is to rebound the economy, which is a fundamental priority. Another point is that we should strengthen the holistic governance of prices, strike a balance between supply-side structural reform and boosting domestic demand. Work in line with the demands of the unified national market, prevent involution, so that we can form our reform in prices and warm up our economy. Thank you.
Some analysts believe that in January and February, the property market, there is some optimism in the property market in the first 2 months, but pessimism was probably the word to describe the March property market. So what is your comment? Broadly speaking, the property market is seeing a turnaround. In March, some believed that relatively worse numbers might mean that the policy effect is diminishing, but we will announce the housing price statistic today. But let me say that in both Tier 1 and Tier 2 cities, in new or second-hand housing, we are seeing positive developments in their prices. In Tier 1 cities, the price has increased compared to previous month. And in Tier 2 cities, the number is relatively the price is relatively stable, and in Tier 3 cities, the price has declined by a narrower margin. But we are not seeing a weakening in the property market in March. This is point number one. Number two, from the policy side, thanks to supportive policies, the property sector is still recovering. Since Q4 last year, the Central Committee has stressed the imperative to stabilize the property market. Relevant departments have rolled out measures to support and implement that decision, increasing the volume of trade, improving the investment in the real estate sector, including stepping up efforts to renovate rundown neighborhoods, building more affordable housing, rolling out a wide list in the property sector to support the financing needs of property developers. If we look at the trade, the transactions in the real estate sector, it's improving. In Q1, the Q4, the floor space sold was down by 3%, but that was 2.1 percentage points slower than January to February. And if we look at sales revenue, it was, despite the fact that it was down by 2.1%, it was 0.5 percentage points slower than the first 2 months. In Q1, the floor space sold of newly built commercial housing was up by 0.6%. In Tier 1 cities and Tier 2, Tier 3 cities, the prices are declining by a narrower margin. Many cities are seeing prices being more stable. Property developers are seeing better operations because of a pickup in sales, and especially the implementation of the white list policy. These property developers are seeing better cash flows. In Q1, in the capital or in the funding of these property developers, the share of loans and mortgages declined by 3.8 percentage points and 4.7 percentage points slower than the first 2 months. That means that supportive policies in the real estate sector are taking effect. Broadly speaking, the property market is still undergoing adjustment. Demand needs to be further unleashed. But if we look at the prospect and the room, because I said just now that in China we are seeing an upgraded demand and consumption, we are also advancing urbanization. There is still room for development in the property market. In particular, people are demanding good houses. There is a huge demand in that. In the future, we must implement the policies set by the Central Committee, step up efforts to build good houses, and develop a new model for the property sector and ensure that this sector develops healthily and steadily. Thank you. Thank you for your question.
The Chinese CPC Central Committee attaches great importance to cultivating new quality productive forces and remains unswerving in high-quality development. All regions and departments have rolled out a series of measures. What are the new achievements in this year's high-quality development and new quality productive forces? Promoting high-quality development is a primary task in building a modern socialist country in all respects. And developing new quality productive forces is an inherent demand and a very important focus in high-quality development. So the Central Committee attaches great importance to these aspects. All localities and regions also attaches great importance. Despite the changing external landscape, we remained anchored on our task of delivering high-quality development, fully and faithfully apply the new development philosophy on all fronts, expedite modernizing our industry system, innovation, and structural optimization, so that we can better promote high-quality development. According to our statistics, our achievements can be exemplified in 5 aspects. In Q1, the new quality productive forces is building up, and high-quality development is delivering new results. New quality productive forces is growing in Q1. All regions expanded their efforts on innovation. In particular, artificial intelligence, quantum communication, and other emerging industries and their subsequent implementation have driven the development of high-tech industries. We know that the breakthrough emergence of DeepSeek during the Spring Festival and enabled robots are examples of China's strength in sci-tech innovation and represent a boost to Chinese market. As I said, the added value of high-tech manufacturing industry grew by 9.7% in Q1. Information technology and software service industries grew by two-digit growth, which showed our strong strengths in this regard. The second is the coordinated development has been improved, be it from demand or production. There were good signs of improvement. The coordinated development in tandem with the first, second, and tertiary industries, forming a unified and strengthened scenario, has been leveraged in tertiary, secondary equipment, the value added of equipment manufacturing industries and high-tech manufacturing industry above the designated size grew by 33.7% and 15.7% respectively, and the manufacturing industry grew by 1.9 percentage points. And high-tech manufacturing industry grew by 0.5 percentage points. So the industry is moving toward high-end, intelligent, and green production. Judging from demand, there was limited investment. But in terms of investment in high-tech industries, it was on the rise, growing by 6.5% in Q1, taking up 10.3% of all investment and up by 0.3 percentage points year on year. So there was sustained progress. The third perspective, high-level opening up, is being promoted. We are actively constructing a new foreign trade structure, promoting a diverse market, and in particular, we increase our interactions with Belt and Road partner countries. So a new trade dynamism is taking place. The fourth perspective is the new progress in green and low-carbon development with concrete steps. Clean and new energy vehicles, photovoltaic, and lithium batteries. As an example, they have been on a good rise. Non-fossil energy consumption, including nuclear, wind, and solar energies, and their utilization efficiency are also on the rise. The share of non-fossil energy consumption increased by 1.5% than the previous year, taking up around 18% of total consumption. The fifth perspective is about people's well-being and security and development. They have been strengthened. With stabilized income and a livelihood, the government is stepping up efforts to ensure a stable income and employment. Despite some shrinking investment in other respects, we remain unswerving in our efforts to ensure well-being. The energy supply remains strong. No matter gasoline or coal, they were increasing steadily. And also, in terms of addressing local debt, the financial risk of small and medium banks, we have in place proactive and effective measures. So the security of the economy was boosted up. And these 5 perspectives show that high-quality development has been implemented with new progress. And of course, it takes some time from quantitative to qualitative change. We need to redouble of efforts in a long-term manner, despite the changing international landscape. We will remain confident with composure in our efforts to promote high-quality development and respond to the uncertainties in the international landscape with the certainty of our high-quality development. Next will be our last question.
A private sector symposium was held earlier this year. How do you see the future prospect of the private sector? Thank you for your question. The private sector is an important part of our efforts to advance Chinese modernization. It is at the foundation of high-quality development. It is important for stabilizing growth, facilitating innovation, increasing employment, and improving livelihoods. So the Central Committee attaches tremendous importance to that and wrote out a set of policies to support the private sector. General Secretary Xi Jinping attended and addressed the private sector symposium. He stressed the importance to stay committed to the 2 unswervingly, to facilitate the healthy development of the private sector and its high-quality development. This meeting itself and the speech by General Secretary Xi Jinping has consolidated the confidence of the private sector. Local governments are working tirelessly to act on the guidance of this symposium. Important progress has been made. This is also manifested in Q1 statistics. Let me share with you a few of them. From production side, private businesses are seeing better operation in Q1. Across big companies, the value added of the private businesses and the small micro businesses have increased by 7.3% and 9.3% respectively. That is slightly higher than last year and also higher than the average of the industrial sector. This is not the all-encompassing statistics because we are still working on the way we calculate the numbers. Secondly, we are seeing a more vibrant private sector. If we look at investment, private investment increased by 0.4% year-on-year in Q1, and returning to the positive territory. We are also providing a fairer investment environment for private businesses. Private investment in manufacturing was up by 9.7%. Investment in infrastructure up by 9.3%. These two numbers were also higher than other sectors. In Q1, private import and export by private businesses increased by 5.8% year-on-year, accounting for 56.8% of the total import and export. So from these numbers, we can see that these private companies are becoming more vibrant and they're seeing a better environment to operate in. They are particularly ahead in terms of innovation. We are seeing progress in generative AI, to AI robots, to civil aviation and quantum information. Private companies are demonstrating their innovative capacity and their ability to compete in the market. Therefore, we must support the development of the private sector and act in line with the CPC, the guidance of the CPC Central Committee. We need to work in line with the two unswervingly, implement the decisions by the Central Committee, improve the business environment, strengthen policy support, provide them with good law-based environment, and ensure that they can develop in a high-quality way. Thank you very much. This is the end of today's press conference. Thank you.
Hello, dear. The GDP live over.